Funding for NotAVampyre is provided by viewers like you. Find perks and tiers at patreon.com/NotAVampyre. Thank you.
Illiteracy is way more complicated than just not knowing how to read and write. If you are illiterate, you lack a lot of fundamental skills, and it permeates every single part of your life.
Oh, well then. Basically, as long as I can remember, I've had issues with reading. In school, I only sort of read the assigned reading and always found that I missed a lot when we go over it in class. Part of the reason I despised Gulliver's Travels and the Scarlet Letter so much was because I just plain couldn't understand them. I tried reading Crime and Punishment, but it didn't make sense until I listened to an audiobook and read a synopsis. And boy, was I shocked when I read the Spark Notes for Lolita. The teacher always seemed to pull details and themes and events out of nowhere. It would leave me confused because I never felt like I was reading the same book. And the way I explained it to myself was that I'm just stupid. I couldn't really read novels. There was a period in my life where I only read the dialogue in books, partially because I found the description boring, but also because I couldn't fully understand them. They never quite made sense. It's like I'd read one sentence and it'd fall out of my head as I work on the next one. It's like I couldn't get a handle around what was being described, so I would compensate by skipping it entirely for the spoken portions since they're written in more understandable words. And let me tell you, that's no way to read a series of unfortunate events. Even after I realized those paragraphs of text were important, it was still a struggle. Like, it took all of my brain power, but it was still incomprehensible. So I switched to manga and audiobooks. It was never that I hated reading, especially when I look back on my backpack full of books I got from the library every week. They just came in the form of graphic novels and auditory media. But I still couldn't read real books. And though I was fitting in well with the local weeb scene, I felt like a fraud when I said that I read Harry Potter up through book 7 because I didn't read those books. I had listened to them. I've never read Peter Pan. I've just listened to the audiobook versions. And my reasoning for this was I was just too stupid for real books. Even today, I struggle with reading. I still experience novels exclusively through some actor reading it out loud to me. Reading feels like it requires all my thought power to even attempt to grasp the meaning of the words and then put them together with previously presented ideas. And it gets worse the longer the passage is. I find myself rereading sentences over and over, trying to recall what I just read, and it's harder when it's a multi-layered description. It's like each piece of the scene being painted for me as it gets pictured individually in my mind and takes so much special effort to be combined if it gets even to that point. I find I never picture what I'm reading the same as anyone else. It all takes place in some weird white boxed void, separate from everything else. And parts I literally have just read sometimes go in my eyes and fall out my ears, making it hard to tie them into the ideas written after them. It's an experience like leaving a trail of breadcrumbs for yourself and you turn around and see a bird 5 paces behind you, eating them at the same rate you're dropping them. And the path is gone. So again, I thought that I must be stupid. And this felt like sound reasoning because I have memory problems as well. It doesn't come up often, but I forget most things in my life. There are moments that I've written in my journal or that I've shared with other people that I have absolutely no recollection of ever happening. Short term, long term, it all falls out of my head as a coping mechanism to suppress and forget childhood trauma. Like with suspecting that I'm asexual but not wanting to deal with committing to an explanation even to myself, I suspected that my terrible memory was something I developed to deal with my old home life. It can't hurt me if I don't remember, so I got in the habit of forgetting everything. Before I confronted that, I assumed that my inability to remember what I read in long passages to be an extension of my forgetfulness, and thus I'm somehow bad. This makes it basically impossible to read philosophy or theory of any sort that relies on building on ideas to reach conclusions. Like, I want to read Marx so that I can have opinions on his beliefs, but I literally have to outsource that. Hell, I love BreadTube videos, but I wouldn't be able to consume them if they were in written format. I've literally told people to make video versions of their text-based essays, otherwise I can't engage with them. My friend The Very Mask being one. Like, I want to engage with all of these ideas. I want to be like Marjane Satrapi and go to the source of all these theories I'm hearing and develop my own opinions on them. Be able to say that I've read so-and-so and this is my conclusion. But I can't. Every time I try, it ends up a frustrating endeavor because I never come away with the full picture. Again, I've thought I was stupid. But as Zoe B points out, this isn't some intellectual failing on my part. This isn't some barrier that I have to live with because I'm bad in some inherent way that prevents me from reading Dostoevsky. I have reading comprehension issues not because I'm stupid like I've always thought. I'm in part illiterate. I know I'm not just stupid because I am film literate. I can recognize themes in environmental storytelling and nuanced character development in stories that I watch. If it's a film or movie or even an audiobook, I can analyze it and pull out enough material to write whole essays on what I think. Hell, look at my Degrassi retrospectives and canon reviews. I can pull so much out of dense text as long as they aren't text made out of text. No, I don't have trouble reading everything. I'm literally reading off a script that I wrote as I speak. I can take written exams, mostly read my lease, understand correspondence from my utility providers, even enjoyed subtitled movies. And I can write. I've been writing scripts for videos and emails for various jobs for years. But that doesn't mean I don't struggle. Literacy is a 5-level spectrum. Again, novels, whether they be physical or ebook, are still out of my reach. When I was delivering Amazon packages, I would need to stop moving and reread delivery instructions multiple times to make sure I understood. Not to mention, I'm a slow reader even without issues in retaining what I've just read. I've got illiteracy problems, and I never knew it until I saw this video, because as Zoe B said, I found workarounds to fly under the radar. Base my essays regarding assigned readings a lot on what we discussed in class, read and reread passages before responding, find manga versions of classic stories, or avoid written prose altogether. For as much as I love poetry, I can't understand most of it because it utilizes each word to build on metaphors and paint very detailed pictures that are the whole point of the work. So I don't read it. I write it, but can't consume other people's work. And the craziest part to me is that no one has really noticed. 52% of adults are illiterate, but we fly under most people's radars. I've written essays I turn into videos. I took honors in AP classes in school. All of my reading assessments were at least satisfactory. Actually, I considered it my easiest subject in standardized testing. I was in the top 36 of my senior class of over 300 people. I didn't look like one of the faces of illiteracy. Reading comprehension problems felt like a well-kept secret, and it still does with how little other people notice it. And I guess I'm just glad to know it's not because I'm deficient in some way. That my aversion to novels isn't because I'm bad. Instead, I'm just not at that skill level. It's something that can be improved. As Zoe B points out, I'm not this way because I'm stupid or bad at learning. The system didn't notice I slipped through the cracks and isn't built to catch people like me. It didn't teach me how to comprehend complex written text in my native language. It instead taught me to build coping mechanisms to make up for skills that it didn't give me. And it is a skill, by the way. My film literacy was something that I learned and built up over years. It took work and effort on my part to learn how to notice connections in the shows and movies that I was watching. And I know that's a skill that erodes if I don't use it. Like algebra. I need to keep flexing those muscles to keep them active. And reading comprehension is the same. It's something I can build and practice. I'm not stupid. I'm just illiterate.